Hello everybody, this is MaximumDonut here. I'm bringing you my second episode ever of my Dark Souls PvP in-depth series. In this episode, I'll be featuring the Undead Prince Ricard, who will be using the Elite Knight armor, along with Ricard's Rapier, a target shield in the offhand, as well as a Black Bow Ferris in the offhand, and a Boulder Side Sword as my secondary main hand weapon. The entire Elite Knight armor set builds up to 46 poise, which is a reasonable amount of poise, but doesn't quite hit the 53 that you'd want. It's still a nice looking set of armor, and so you can use some of the armor pieces in combination with others and still have it be, well, quite effective. The armor pieces give 8 poise for the helm, 20 poise for the chest, 6 poise for the gloves, and 12 poise for the leggings, adding up to 46 poise. I unfortunately don't have Titanite slabs to spare, so all of my armor pieces are only upgraded to plus 9, but the additional defense from bringing it up that 1 is not really that much anyway. Ricard's Rapier is a rapier that's slightly shorter than the S-Stock, but it has a faster R1 spamming speed. Its running attack, just like all other rapiers, is a 2-poke running attack, 2-poke lunging attack. And its basic attack is just a normal thrusting attack. Its kick, or forward R1 attack, is replaced with a backstepping, sort of side-swiping attack. Its R2 attack is a telegraphed 2-poke attack, which can be followed up by a 4-poke attack that finishes with a lunge. And the jumping attack is a forward thrusting jumping attack. Its moveset when two-handed is pretty much the same. Its R1 is just a lunging attack, and its R2 is a similar telegraphed 2-poke and can be followed up by a 4-poke with a lunging attack at the very end of the 4-poke. Again, while being two-handed, the kick attack is replaced by a backstepping side-swiping attack. One important aspect of the rapiers is that its wild dashing attack is very, very good, or its backstepping wild dashing attack is very good with its 2-poke and can be used to edge out opponents. The Boulder Side Sword has a side-swiping attack when one-handed while running. Its R2 attack, or strong attack, is just a normal thrusting attack. The R1 attack, which for some reason I haven't demonstrated, is a diagonal fast sweep. When two-handed, the R1 attack becomes slightly narrower because its attack is more of a upwards direction or a vertical direction. Again, the moveset of the Boulder Side Sword while two-handed is quite similar to it when one-handed. Its R2 attack remains a thrusting attack. Its while running and backstepping dashing attack is a completely vertical downward sweep. Alright, so that's pretty much the movesets of the Ricard's Rapier and the Boulder Side Sword. I might talk about them in a little bit more depth in a future video, but for this I thought I might just focus a bit more on the PvP. So in this video I wanted to talk about parrying strategies. So with the target shield, the parrying window I believe is slightly wider, and its parry startup time is a bit faster as well, which allows for much easier parries. The only problem being that if you get used to the parrying window with the target shield, it might be difficult for you to transfer over to a medium shield. So the first thing that I wanted to point out in this PvP video is the fact that opponents often come in for attacks after you whiff. What I mean by whiff is if you just completely miss an attack, if you attack nothing but air. Now, with heavier weapons like the scythe or halberds, whiffing is a much bigger problem, but with those weapons you can be liable to be punished. But with fast weapons like the rapier or katana, missed attacks can be used to bait attacks and can be used to time blind parries. What I mean by blind parries is parries that don't use the visual aid of someone spamming R1s into you, as a reference point for you to time your parries. Blind parries can be difficult to throw, particularly against a defensive opponent, but against an offensive opponent you can try to read their attack patterns and strategies and can use that to your advantage when facing an opponent who is predictably attacking. So the while dashing attack of the katana as well as the rapier is a very good tool to bait parries, or to bait attacks. But using it over and over again will leave you open to parries. Now if an opponent is doing something as predictable as just spamming their R1 attacks into you, this will leave them very, very open to parries. Unfortunately, rapiers, katanas and other very fast attacking weapons don't leave themselves very open to being set up parried. However, there are things that you can do to get parries off on these players. One way is to eat shots if you have high enough poise, and then time your parry with the with the second or third attack that they throw out. Another way is to pseudo poise stack by using partial parries in order to get the parry, which is what I did in that situation there. Now, as I'm sure you guys can tell, this build is mainly focused around playing smartly, using predictable patterns of attack from the opponent and timing parries correctly to get a Hornet ring riposte off. And I do apologize for using the Hornet ring in this video. I try, well, in my earlier videos I did use the Hornet ring a bit more, but I have tried to steer more away from using the Hornet ring because I do believe it's fairly overpowered at times, and I don't really like ending duels just immediately when you get a riposte off. This match doesn't have any parries in it, but it showcases the effectiveness of the boulder side sword against the katana player, because its attacks after dashing and after rolling are so quick. It actually gives you a significant advantage over quick weapons such as the katana. In addition, its thrusting attack outranges most katanas, including the Chaos Blade, which gives it a very significant advantage. Or at least that's what I found. Particularly, I found that when I used my own Chaos Blade character against players who use the boulder side sword. Because of the weakness of the Ricard's Rapier, I'm trying to use the charcoal pine resin, although I'm not entirely relying on it and often switch between the boulder side sword, getting rid of my buff. It's not really too big an issue because the main objective in these fights has been more along the lines of getting parries rather than actually out-damaging them, although the boulder side sword is a powerful enough weapon to actually be able to finish someone off. My recommendation to rapier users would be to have a good main alternative weapon, because being able to switch things up in a fight can be significantly to your advantage. Because if someone that you're versing becomes used to how you play with a certain weapon, it can make the match quite stagnant. In my Road to Humanity series, I use pyromancies to get around this, but with a character without any attunement slots like this character, you have to rely on other things. One quick thing that I want to mention was you can use the roll invincibility to avoid taking bleed damage, because your bleed meter builds up even when you're in roll animation. Coming up here is another example of using a whiff from a backstepping dashing attack in order to set up a parry. And again, the important thing with regards to actually getting the parry off is to make sure that you are pretty much hugging your opponent. You need to be close enough to kiss them on the dome. One quality of rapiers that's very useful is its ability to attack and roll away quickly. This can be abused in a savage fashion in honorable duels. However, it does leave you very open to being poise stabbed. Because of the nature of a thrusting attack, the fact that the area in which it hits is very narrow, and the fact that it rarely hit stuns, allows most players with any amount of armor and any amount of poise to just continue to walk around to your back and stab you in the back. So you will have to be aware of this in your duels. And another thing is your wild dashing attack can actually leave you fairly open to being backstabbed. So that's one thing that you'll have to be aware of. If an opponent is going for backstabs over and over again, maybe the wild dashing attack isn't the best idea. You can continue to try and use the wild dashing attack or the backstepping R1 attack. But if you're playing against a player who's going for a lot of backstabs, the best idea may be to use that attack to space yourself from your opponents, which is to say, to try and use the very end of the attack and try to hit your opponent from as far away as possible. And of course, if your opponent is very much cheesing you, you can always just resort to trying to backstab them. That's always a very appealing option. So again, I fail at parrying, but the idea is pretty much there. I'm throwing it out quite often now because I know that this guy is falling for it. Basically just going for the wild dashing attacks, waiting for him to come in and parrying his punish attacks. And unfortunately he does the same attack as me. He does a thrusting attack while trying to space away from the opponent, and we both wind up hitting each other and going down. Pretty honorable fight to Techno Foxy. He's a very honorable player. I really enjoyed playing against him in these many fights. Unfortunately, he doesn't wind up winning very many that I play against him. But rest assured, he as our fight sort of wore on, he won a lot more. He began to anticipate my my attack patterns and my parry patterns a little bit better, and you can even see it there. He knew exactly when I was going for my parry. But again, his coming in for attacks at predictable times, which is allowing me to get partial parries off every once in a while as well. This match I mainly used the boulder side sword, and it's a pretty good example of how to space yourself away from an opponent and use the boulder side sword's quick attacks and very far-reaching R2 thrusting attack to your advantage. This particular character build has 40 dexterity and 40 strength, and as such, it actually does, the boulder side sword does quite a fair bit of damage, even without enchantments or without buffs. But if you were using a chaos boulder side sword with with 10 humanity or fire or an enchanted weapon or a occult or divine, it would actually probably wind up doing more damage. I think, well, I'm pretty certain, or even a lightning one, yeah, I'm pretty sure lightning and chaos at 10 humanity would probably do more damage than the scaled boulder side sword. But anyway, I like to fight without these enchantments, so that's what I'm doing in this video. So this video is rapidly coming to a close now. I feel like I haven't talked about as many things as I probably would have liked, but I think I've given you guys a preliminary idea of the characteristics of these various of the boulder side sword and the Ricard's Rapier, and also my a very basic strategy to try and bait attacks for parries. You'll find actually that a lot of people do fall for it, but you do have to remember that if your opponent starts to predict when you parry, then you will leave yourself vulnerable to being backstabbed, because well, parry animations do leave yourself open for backstabs. That is just something that you'll have to be aware of. If your opponent sees that you have a parrying dagger in your hand, or sometimes even if you have a buckler in your hand, they can predict that you'll be going for parries, and so they might be more inclined to encircle you, in which case it might be a better idea to go for counter BSs rather than going for parries. And particularly if you don't get your first or second parry off, it might be a good idea to try and abandon your parry attempts initially, and then go for parries unpredictably later on, just so that your opponent isn't constantly trying to encircle you to get backstab off. Alright, so it's coming to the end of the video. I didn't talk about as many things as I would have liked, but this series will be ongoing, so I'll have the opportunity again at some point. So thank you guys for watching. I'm sorry the commentary was a little bit monotonous, but I was a little bit nervous trying to actually analyze things properly, and I know I'm not the authority on things, so yeah. But anyway, thanks for watching guys, I'll see you in the next episode.